The goal for us is to be like hands off, right? I think majority of business owners, they're like, we want to hire you and we want you to like be immersed in our business, understand it truly, like be a part of our company, knowing the brand voice, brand visuals, the team members who makes up the business, so that, they can trust us enough to own a lot of like, the creative and design and resolve some of that timeline. And the time that a lot of business owners, I feel like, find themselves tackling social when, that's not their specialty.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
We're so excited to talk today, Miranda, and we have so much to sort of dive into about social content, social creation. And I know you're the master of it all. We kind of want to dive in, but the very first part is to let everybody know who you are, what you are, and everything about your biz.
Yeah, sure. So the way we happened was kind of just naturally, actually. So my original job was working at a resort and gardens. I was kind of an in-house marketing specialist. So I was able to do a mixture of everything, like a hodgepodge role, which was great. So graphic design, working with press releases, social media was a mix in there. And so it was a really great position to kind of get my feet wet on all things that it takes to run a business on the marketing end. And so during that process, I started to take on a couple of freelance clients, just family and friends, naturally, who had heard word that I was in marketing, new graduate, and had been working at this gardens. And so I did that for a couple of years, honed my skills. And then, of course, naturally, COVID had hit during it's crazy. It's been so many years. But yeah, so when COVID hit, the resort kind of shut down because travel and traffic was incredibly low at that time.
Right.
So I was furloughed for about a month period. And so during that period, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I'm such a worker bee. And so I was like, well, I'm sitting down to go to work during work hours, and I don't know what to do. Like, I can't just sit at home and just, and not do anything. And so that's how the business bloomed from there, really.
Wow.
So with that time period, I just invested into what I had always dreamed about of doing, owning a social media agency. And once I kind of announced it on my social platforms to family and friends, it took off from there. Went from 2 clients to 4 to 10 to 20, and it's just flourished. So, and it kind of naturally made sense too. My husband is military, and so we move a lot, and finding a new job after you move every 2 to 3 years, it's hard on the resume. And so I knew I naturally wanted to go into some type of position that offered me flexibility in that kind of work scope. I could work wherever, we could be overseas one year, we could be back in the United States. So something that allowed that laptop lifestyle. And so that's kind of where Calatrello Creatives made the most sense, making that pivot in my career. But yeah,
so a little COVID baby.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think as people move more towards this remote lifestyle, it just seemed to align with what you needed, and maybe not as early as you thought, but that's such a COVID win, which is awesome.
Which is hard to come by sometimes.
I know. So let's dig into Calatrello Creatives and tell us who you serve and what you guys are all about and what you're focused on these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are kind of in the business of growing other small businesses through social media. What I noticed was that there's a gap in the marketplace. I have family members who own their own small businesses, and that's who I kind of was working with preliminary, at the birth of our business. And it was really between a high paying retainer agency, $10,000, $20,000 a month, and then a college student. So it's where's the in between of, I have a small business, I can't spend $5,000, $10,000 on social, media alone right now for my business, but I need it. And I need it to be done by someone who can move the needle in the right direction for us and have positive ROI. So that's kind of where I envisioned where we would fill that gap and meet that demand. And that's kind of how we have structured our business from there. So we love to grow with businesses. That's kind of our model and fits into our brand and how we operate. So from smaller packages. If you're really just starting out and you need a little bit, we've seen growth with our clients tremendously, even from startup birth, like, hey, we're in between stages. We're just starting to launch. We only have this much budget. Let's see what we can do. So we'll accommodate and customize a package based on that. And then for us, we've seen that if we've stayed with a client's life cycle from start to where they are now, I mean, that package grows and grows and grows as they grow and become more successful. We also work with a lot of legacy businesses too, who have been in business, construction business for 30, 40 years.
Right.
And they're just realizing like, yeah, we probably do need a social, experience or need to be seen and found somewhere. We find that it's relevant to our marketplace and people are asking for it. And so we work with those types of businesses as well, who need a little bit more of the social media experience and education piece, kind of honing in on what makes the most sense for them based on what their goals are, if it's just brand awareness or if it's lead generation and everything in between. So that's really where we have kind of been, built the business upon. I'd say the majority of our clientele are really in that hospitality category, which fits me personally since I'd worked at resorts in my previous corporate life. Hospitality is as that like umbrella statement, but that kind of fits into mainly like real estate agencies, resorts, spa and wellness, brick and mortar kind of businesses are really the main chunk of our business right now.
Cool. I love that.
So Miranda, I actually had this question because of course, social media for even somebody like a construction company, something like that, maybe it's a little intimidating. So how can people kind of get over that hurdle of like, even coming up with graphics or sending you what you need? Like, how do you make that super easy for people?
Yeah, absolutely. The goal for us is to be like hands off, right? I think majority of business owners, they're like, we want to hire you and we want you to like be immersed in our business, understand it truly, like be a part of our company, knowing the brand voice, brand visuals, the team members who makes up the business so that, they can trust us enough to own a lot of like, the creative and design and resolve some of that timeline and the time that a lot of business owners I feel like find themselves tackling social when that's not their specialty, right? So we work with a lot of real estate agents too, and very creative, amazing individuals who are really, personality type fit for those roles. So like we can try to navigate Canva and put some things together that makes sense from, my experience and my knowledge in the space, but is it done to the brand's credit properly and strategically? Some, majority of the time we feel like it's, not as much. And that's why people definitely try to leverage us more than themselves. One being that time commitment. It just takes so much time for someone who isn't experienced in it. And two, making sure that everything's aligned, right? It's not just like, is the copy valuable, but does the visuals speak to your brand, your tone of voice? Is it meeting your goals? Are you just posting to post, or do you have like a call to action and SMART goal setup? I think that's a really big factor when we start with any client, trying to figure out if social media makes sense for them. Like, what are your goals for social? Is it, one, do you just want your face out there, right? That's sometimes for real estate agents, that's it. They're like, I'm my brand and I, want to be known in the community. Great. That's perfect. And we stack those into different tiers, right? Like secondary, do you want to bring leads through this platform? Now that's a different commitment, right? So different strategy to that. Like we will need to be running digital ads. We need some video creation nowadays. That's what pays to play. And trying to work down from there. So top level of like social media audit, which is what we do as well for every client, especially through like that regional space, right? So for our spas, for example, we'll take a whole week just to build out this social media audit, all their competitors, how frequently they're posting, what are their engagement rates, what kind of content are they pushing out there so that we can see what's working right now and what's not working and how we can do it better and offer something different that's not going to be copy paste of every single, location in the same area. So we start with that factor and then we go down from there of that 30, 60, 90-day roadmap of like, okay, how do we want to achieve these goals now that we've had some like measurable timeline based specific kind of return on investment for their social plan, and then build out content from there that really kind of fits the needle on how do we achieve that properly within that benchmark time. So That seems like a lot for a lot of small businesses. So we try to take it down in chunks. We do a 1 month of onboarding, which allows us time to block off every week. So like 1 week is all about operationally, like how operationally can we work together to take this off your plate, to streamline these programs so that your touch points as a business owner are very minimal. When we ask of something of you to review content, things like that, it's done in a very strategic manner to save them time and feel like it's a valuable session. And the next week, we talk about all things visual, tone of voice, kind of lock in what that looks like from a creative standpoint, match their brand, get feedback. I guess before that was the strategy, right? So circling back on strategy, if we're right on point for that. So that whole timeline period is built out mainly to kind of support them on, right? So now we have like a foundation to activate your social based on everything we've talked about and built out and are ready to implement. So they feel confident that it's not just content created and posted out there kind of willy-nilly, that it has like a purpose for that presence.
And I can imagine we're dealing a lot with ad agencies and running ads, and that content is sometimes difficult to get from clients. I can imagine this sort of volume of content can be like extra difficult for you to get from clients, but like, what is sort of, I don't know if it's the way to position it or the way to like get that from clients so like they are kind of hitting these milestones and hitting these sort of content tasks. Because I'm sure you can pull content, but you want their content too, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's funny you said that because I just talked to another social media agency yesterday, a good friend of mine, and we had the same conversation of like, oh, there's some accounts that I'm tired of using stock imagery. It's too repetitive. Yes, you can bake it in, but after a while, the viewer, the guest or follower, they can tell. Like you can tell if something's stock and it's not authentic. And if you do too much, it's not as appealing to the consumer. So for us, as of this year, have started implementing quarterly photo shoots into our package plan. So like if you are a brand where it makes sense that you need photography, real estate agents specifically, we kind of mandate it and build it into our package, right? And so I will go out and source a photographer who fits the budget, and it bakes into that social media package plan over that monthly kind of. Yes. But at the end of the day, I mean, you need it for social. So I'm like, I can't be successful if I'm not set up for success. And imagery and videography is definitely huge. We're also kind of looking at our hub cities. So we have a lot of clients in Birmingham, Alabama. We have a lot of clients in DC. And so from that model, from an agency, I'm going to start hiring a content creator for those two main city hubs. Right. And that content creator will be skilled in videos, so like Instagram reels, and then photography. So I kind of want them to be like dual skill set. And then the goal for me is like, every month I will have a list of shots you need to get, Instagram reels you need to film. And so they'll take one day out of the whole entire month, batch all that content, and then we're good for the next month, or let's say the next quarter, depending on the client. But I think that's kind of my strategy to remedy that issue, which has certainly become more and more relevant, especially for Instagram reels. It's necessary. Our clients love them, but they find that they're, it's intimidating. First time, even after we train them, and you do have to have some knowledge about how to do them properly, or it will take a ton of time. And we just found that it's taking too much time for our clients, and it's not as user friendly for the average every other person. And so if I can just find someone to go out there, film them for 30 minutes and get that content done, check, all done. Perfect.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah.
And we even find that with our own social media, right? Like we have photos and we want people to feel like they're speaking to us, but it gets dry using the same photos all the time. So just like having those photo shoots booked, having the content plan, like just understanding where you're going just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Well, I was just thinking like we can wait weeks for like a 1-minute video for like an ad. And you're like probably looking for like 30 1-minute videos. And I'm just thinking like, wow, that is quite the ask, and you figured it out, so that's good.
Yeah.
So from an agency growth perspective, you are obviously the CEO, you're running the business. What are your goals in terms of what you want to be focused on as kind of the leader of the business?
Yeah, great question. I feel like it's something I have in my mind all the time of like, okay, great. 2 years ago, I was at this phase. I was in the business. I was making the blog post. I was writing the copy. And thankfully now with partnership with you guys, taking some amazing things off our plate with our account manager, Alana, who we adore and love. And that's been a huge milestone for our business this year, is investing in that person to be client facing, because I do have some clients that are just attached to me personally, because I've been with them so long, and things like that. But everyone has grown to love just having one singular person. I'm like, this is a person dedicated to you. Now, this is your person. I will pop in now and again, show you some love, be there for some strategy, but this is your person, which I think has been huge for me to be able to step back from my business and work on it, of like the long-term future, planning out, what roles do we need? What opportunities can we do moving forward? Like some passive income opportunities that I know a lot of agencies have started to roll out, and we have not really invested time in doing that, but it's been a goal for myself. And I think that's something that I want to check off, with my time back this year, to invest in that type of kind of a curriculum or courses, with real estate agents being our biggest peak, performance, maybe some Canva templates for the real estate agent that's just starting out. They don't have money to invest in a manager yet, but they need some support here and there, buyer and seller guides. So yeah, I think this year alone, it's really for me to work on the business and its long-term growth, building out our kind of spoke and wheel hubs of each city center that we've just naturally have created a client base within, and figuring out what our niche is as well. I think that's something I'd always gone back and forth on throughout the entirety of our business, right? We started with like, we'll take anyone and everyone, like most agencies, anyone that wants to work with us, let's do it. And that's, that had success that leads us to where we are now, and all the referrals and business from there. But I think what I see ourselves doing moving forward is really niching down. Like, we are an agency for real estate agents. We are an agency for spa and wellness services, for hotels, resorts. Like I mentioned, like hospitality, I feel like is going to be my coin phrase for like 2022 is my word. And really trying to focus on how we do that well and batching resources for that, right? So I think that's the biggest thing too. We've taken clients outside of like our natural scope, some tech companies, and it's just a different world, right? It takes tons of time to dive into, all the research, white pages, research, understanding their brand, their voice. And I feel like for us, we have naturally gone down the path of hospitality, and we can probably just build upon that and just become really good and be the experts in that field and go from city to city with that thought in mind.
I actually did think that there has to be an element of like knowing the business, right? Like knowing what you're talking about, or even real estate, like knowing different houses, different sort of markets, where they are. So
interest rates and all the loans,
points.
And yeah. And so I think that's definitely what I see is going to be best, because right now, as we've all seen, I mean, social media agencies have popped up everywhere. When I started in 2019, I feel like, I had seen a couple, and they had like somewhat of a small following who was doing kind of a similar space, whether they were abroad or in the United States. But just, I mean, now it's flushed, but there are social media agencies for everything, and majority of them are generalized as well. And so I feel like to go from one step up to distinguish ourselves against other agencies that you may find on Instagram or on the website is to really focus on like, just like lawyers do. Like, I'm a lawyer for this type of specific field. Like, I'm a social media agency for this specific field, so that you can build your team on being the best and knowing basically everything about that vertical specifically. So
yeah. And something I love that you guys are doing is staying super focused on what you're good at, right? Because I think in the agency world, there's so many things that you could be doing. Like, oh, I could be running Facebook ads. Oh, I could be building websites. I could be like actually doing photography, but you guys have stayed laser focused on what you're really good at. And obviously that's showing up, and that's proving itself. And if you're listening to this, go check out Miranda's social media at Calatrello Creatives, because you'll see kind of how everything is just laid out and it's very thoughtful. And the way that you've been able to stay super focused on that, I think, is why you guys are seeing such great success, which is wonderful to see.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited about this year and this growth and working with you guys specifically. So it's been a blessing that we got connected through social media. So
yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Miranda. This has been very insightful. And I'm sure for all of our agency owners listening, everyone needs a good social media presence. So reach out to Miranda and her team. But where can people learn more about what you guys are up to and get connected and get your guys' support?
Yeah, so our two main platforms on our website, so calatrellocreatives.com. You can go visit there, book a free discovery call. We can get connected through that touch point or through our Instagram page, as well as kind of our second biggest platform funnel. So feel free to find us again, Calatrello Creatives on Instagram, and shoot us a DM, and we'd love to connect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miranda.
Cheers to happy clients.